congratulations on a good week last week.
You bet. Thanks, Jim. And thanks everybody that just joined in with us. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, this is the second week of our 8-week Extraordinary Lifestyle Entrepreneur Challenge. My name is David Bush, and I work as a entrepreneurial coach. I work with individuals and groups, and Jim and I have partnered up for this amazing 8-week challenge to bring people into a more extraordinary life and to more extraordinary results inside of their business. Jim, as you may have already known, is the motivation expert, and you can check him out at themotivationexpert.com, or you can find a lot of his resources at theextraordinarylife.com, because we are doing a really cool project together as we're bringing entrepreneur-minded individuals together to help them to design and live an extraordinary life and to create an extraordinary business in the process. So, Jim, I know that you did do just a quick little preview for those of the people that were here early, but you know, our whole challenge is about helping people to design a life that's extraordinary and to live that life. And Indeed. You had a chance to have an extraordinary experience these last 10 days or so. So walk us through a little bit more about this lifestyle that you lead around the world.
Thank you. Well, years ago, when I started in the business as a speaker, the reason I chose this business was I was unsure what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I heard a professional speaker or two, and I was really impressed. And as I shared with many people earlier in earlier broadcasts, Earl Nightingale inspired me with a little daily radio show one time. And I said, I want to do that. Well, I got to meet some speakers up close and personal. Cabot Robert, the founder of the National Speakers Association, Bill Gove, first president of NSA. And I asked them, what's it like? You know, what is your life like doing that? And both of them were full-time, I mean, every day of the week, professional speakers. And they were at the peak of their career doing like 200 engagements a year. Meaning every morning they got up and went to another airport. Every evening they were addressing some group somewhere and then packing to take off again the next day. Well, I didn't want to do that, I didn't think, but I ended up doing it anyway. I said, I'll get into that business, but not that intensely. Well, the more I got into it, the more exciting it got. And I got to where I was doing 120 talks a year at the peak. And that was 240 trips. Well, that's a lifestyle that's basically going from taxi to airport to hotel. And I had a wife and son at home, and I wanted more of a balanced life. So I had to do a lot of things to intentionally keep things in balance and to keep in good physical shape. And then I decided after several years of that intensity that I would cut back to about 50 or 60 dates a year. And that worked. And today I'm doing, I don't know, maybe 30 paid presentations every year in various locations around the world. But as I shared with you earlier, and David was commenting, and you can see the screen now, this past week I've been in Wrocław, Poland. Before that, I was in Chengdu and Shanghai, China. This is interesting. Many of you know the name Tom Hopkins, a nationally or internationally famous sales expert. Well, Tom's a friend of mine, a colleague I've known for probably 30, 40 years. As a matter of fact, coincidentally, I'm sitting at a desk that he used to own. We were next door neighbors in Thousand Oaks, California. And when he was moving back to Arizona, he had a beautiful desk for sale, and I bought it and put it on rollers, and personally just scooted it 2 doors over to my house and put it in place in my office. So that's where I'm sitting right now. Well, Tom was walking by while I was in the Chengdu, China airport the other day, coming home from a speaking engagement back to, I say home, back to Shanghai, where we were doing some other work. And I had no idea Tom was even in the country. But what a cool connection that was. And I'm rambling a little bit, but I chose this field intentionally a long time ago. The reason I chose it is it seemed to resonate with something deep inside me. I wanted to help people grow. I wanted to be a performer at the same time. I wanted to have books in bookstores all over the world, and wanted to appear on television and radio. So I wanted to grow up and be famous, but I wanted to make a difference. I didn't want to just be famous for standing up and doing some entertaining thing. I wanted to touch people's lives in a profound way. And that's why I chose this field. Well, there are a lot of ways to be in this field. You could be in this field as a full-time employee of somebody else's company, doing training and helping them grow. You could do this. As a matter of fact, my son does that. He's a director of human resources, the director of human resources for a Four Seasons Hotel, and has 600 employees. He runs a training, ongoing series of training programs all year, every year, and has touched thousands of lives. But he's an employee. He's got a regular salary, one job, one location. And I'm self-employed and have been for many, many years. And I tell you, the other people who follow me on Facebook or people I know personally, and we share stories about what's going on lately, they say, man, I want your life. Well, I love my life too. It's a life that I intentionally designed. And I think you and I, no matter what our choice of path happens to be, we have the option of being more intentional about the way we live, about how we spend our leisure time, how we structure the hours of our day to make sure there's time for fitness and nutrition, how we make sure that we are including in each day the expression of love to the people we care about and the receipt of love from those who care about us. I believe that we need to take a look at that personal priority wheel of mental, physical, family, social, spiritual, career, financial, emotional, and make sure every spoke of that wheel is getting attention regularly, because we can't attend to all of them at all times, but we can sure focus on this one until it's handled, and then move to that one and this one and that one, and make sure that none of those spokes get neglected. Here's why. If you neglect one spoke of that wheel, you can only neglect it for a little time, and then it starts interfering with all the other parts of your life. So we've got to balance our life. It's not an option, but it's something that we can be much more intentional about. Let's take a look at our challenge, the schedule, what we're going to do, and let me throw the program back to David to get a little bit more structured on this message for this week.
Thanks, Jim. And yeah, it's fun to be able to see a person like yourself that's had success in designing and living that extraordinary life, and obviously very successful in business as well. And that's what we talked about last week as we kicked off the challenge. We talked about designing an extraordinary life and business plan. You can see down at the bottom of the screen the Facebook group. If you're watching this and you're not a part of that Facebook group, go and request access. It's a closed group, meaning that you have to gain permission to get in. But anybody that is an entrepreneur at heart that wants to learn how to design and live an extraordinary life and become successful in business and developing an entrepreneur business, you can join into that group. And the resources that we provided last week and all the resources that are going to be in the challenge will be available in the files section of that group. And we had a great little document that we provided that helped individuals to kind of give them some thoughts. Now, it was probably a lot of information for some people, but we wanted to give you some tools that you could begin to use beyond the 8-week challenge, something that you could actually use to kind of come back to and ask questions and just continue to dialogue with yourself and with your mentors or your accountability partners and coaches to really help you to come up with the plan that's going to help you to succeed. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing your business. Next week, we'll talk about relationship selling and have Jim headed out of the park with his relationship selling program. Part 1 will happen next week. Part 2 will happen the following week. Then we'll have Jim share some motivating tips from his self-motivation handbook. And then we're going to talk about how to grow your team and delegate and defer some activities so that you can really focus on the things that you're extraordinary at and that bring the most value to the marketplace. The 7th week, we're going to talk about how to expand your business and improve your work-life balance. And then the final week, we're going to talk about generating extraordinary results. So we hope that you participate. We hope that you throw in comments and that you put messages in the chat feature, because while Jim and I are going to be controlling the presentation, we'd love to have interaction. Whether you're watching this live in the group or a recording, please post a comment, share a takeaway, share something that's been working for you, and we'd love to see your comments and suggestions. So Jim, last week we did business planning and life planning, and we kind of went through the idea of what makes up a good business plan. Today we're going to focus in specifically on marketing. But in terms of your business, Jim, you've been around a long time, and you have probably spent some money on some marketing campaigns or some advertising that
spent and wasted both. Yeah.
So maybe kind of give some perspective just from your own personal hiccups and failures and judgments on where you spent money that maybe wasn't the best place to spend it.
Well, here's the way to think about marketing. Think about, first off, there's got to be a market, a target of people that you're going after, right? And the way I like to think about it is identify a group of people that you want to do business with. So you find the world that is your audience, your fan base that you're trying to win over, right? And what do they call it? Your public, if you were a personality. Who is your public? It's not every person on earth. It's the ones that are interested in what you do, the ones that care about what you provide. So identify that targeted market group. And a market, by the way, is any group of people that have enough in common with, independent of you, that you could establish a reputation among them. Now think about that. A group of people who have enough in common naturally between themselves that if you did something cool there, you could establish a reputation among them. So you look at, women are my market. No, women, there are so many women. Certainly you can focus on women's needs, but women as a market is way too broad. It'd be like saying people as a market, men as a market, women as a market. No, that's a subspecialty. Where's your market? Who are the group of people that have enough in common you can establish a reputation among them? So you say women in life insurance, okay, or men in direct marketing. Anyway, you identify the group either geographically or by industry or by activity or whatever, and then draw a circle around them in your thinking. And think of that circle as a bubble. First thing you want to do is you want to penetrate that circle. You want to pierce that balloon and get inside, which means you need one contact with one person where you can do some kind of business, whether it's a demo or a little freebie or a low-priced loss leader or a full-on assignment. One person, one business. And then do that so well that they refer you to another person, and then you can start spreading out through this. But number one is surround the market with messages from you from every angle you can think of, so that everywhere they look, they see you, your business, your service, your face, your name. Penetrate the market and then permeate the market. Think like injecting into a balloon smoke, and the smoke fills the entire balloon. That's permeating it. And the way you do that is you just simply go from one to another to another to another until that entire market has seen, experienced, and paid for the value that you can provide. So that's conceptually how to think about this. David, let's get specific with the marketing plan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously having that clearly defined marketing target to know who you're speaking to makes your message to be a little bit more clearly defined and usable by that individual. Now, we have so many different people that are on this webinar or watching this webinar recorded, and you're going to be coming at it from a lot of different angles. We have some people that are business to business, you've got some that are consumer direct. So this is going to be some information that you're going to have to digest and work through and apply the principles that apply to your particular business practice. What Jim just said is a perfect scenario for somebody that's in the service-based industry. If you're in the business-to-business industry, you can still use that, but you may have to expand your market if you are selling a product and there's multiple different customer bases. So again, start taking notes and start writing down who are some of those different marketing targets that you'd like to work with. Some of the different targets that you may be thinking about from a service business is your current clients. One of the things, Jim, that I find is that so many of us get so busy trying to attract new business that we forget to just focus on the business that we currently have and making them a client for life. So I like to go ahead.
We've got a couple of ways to think about this, and we just got a question: how do you define your target market? Well, there's markets that are natural and markets that are chosen. So your natural market is the people that already buy whatever it is you offer, or the people that you already know, people who don't have to make a new decision about whether to do business in this way. All they would do is make a decision as to whether to do that business with you. So this is a proven deal. You just become the new supplier. Or this is a friend of yours that you haven't yet told about that. They didn't realize you could be that valuable to them, and you want to let them know, and you want to give them the opportunity to benefit from what you're doing. So natural market already exists. Chosen market, you say, you know what? I'd like to work with resorts around the world, and I can see where that would be a pretty cool lifestyle if I got in the business of working with resorts. What do I have that resorts buy or would buy that could help them do even better? And then you start researching that, and you specifically go after that sphere of clientele.
Yeah, and that expands into that personal sphere. Is you're actually, growing your networking contacts. You're actually thinking about who stands to benefit from the services that I offer. But then you could also ask the question, who stands to benefit by referring me to people that need my services? And, for those of you that are coaches, if you're working in the health department or you're working in the health coaching division, you may think about physicians or physical therapists or chiropractors. And if you're in the business coaching world, you may think of accountants, and you may think of financial advisors, because those people are seen as
human resource departments.
Yeah, the human resource departments would be another one. That would be what I would consider to be a key influencer, working with a person like Jim's son, who's the head of 600 people. If you were able to bring a value to him and the organization would approve of it, they could introduce your product or service to their entire population of employees. So identifying those key influencers that you could begin to build relationships with. You may not have an immediate impact, and you may not get immediate business from it. It may be an investment of time before you develop a relationship that's worthy of trust, and for them to endorse what you're doing to their employees or their clients. Right. But it's oftentimes sometimes a little cheaper than going out there and taking a ad out or running a billboard. I've seen so many people that have thought, well, you know what, Jim, I think I'll just take an ad out in the newspaper, or I think I'll just take an ad out.
Guilty.
Google ads would be another one. Yeah. Facebook ads, just do a Facebook ad. Well, yeah, Facebook ads could be valuable and you could just talk to strangers. But if you're in the service business and you get a chance to choose your clients versus just attracting strangers, why not get everything you can out of everything you've already got and reward your clients for referrals?
Well, also, when you think about it, let's say that what you're offering is a very specific service. Maybe you're doing landscape design for single-family residences, okay? Is running an ad in the newspaper a good idea? Well, first off, how long do newspapers last? Overnight, okay? How many people get the newspaper? Thousands of people get the newspaper. How many of them read it? Cover to cover? Hundreds. Okay, of the hundreds, how many of those are likely to see your ad and read the ad? Dozens. Okay, of those dozens, how many of them are likely to be in the market currently for landscape design? None, or one, or a microscopic percentage. Or putting your name up on a billboard on the highway. There'll be gazillions of people that'll see it. But that doesn't mean that you'll reach them in a way that causes them to do business with you. If you send an email campaign to a specific targeted group of new home buyers, or people who were customers of a local garden center and bought plants and services there, and you were doing some reciprocal thing with that garden center, you'd be targeting people who already are in need of the services you offer. and offering it to even 10 of them would have better results than offering 100,000 through the local newspaper or some kind of spray advertising.
Yeah, and the trust and credibility that you may get from a client referral or from a networking contact that you've brought value from could shorten the time of purchase down to a minimum of maybe 2 or 3 contacts versus talking to a stranger. It may take many different conversations and a lot of time before you acquire them as a client. So we're not going to go through all these different strategies, but there's different phases of marketing. There's the lead generation side of things where, when Jim wants to go out there and seek out a new speaking contact, his name is out there. He's got his websites developing leads. He's got a lot of different strategies. He's working with speaker bureaus and other types of relationships to bring in incoming leads and giving him the chance to present his services as an opportunity. He's also likely has some things where he's wowing people. He gets an opportunity to potentially speak or get a chance to present, and he's in the lineup with the top 3 other speakers that they're reviewing. He probably has a few things that he does to kind of make it to be really special for that individual so that he stands out in the marketplace. Jim, are there any things that you do while the client is in process, or maybe when you've gotten the lead and you're trying to really stand out from the competition that helps you?
One of the things I've done is make sure that my LinkedIn profile is very, very robust, and that my website has the items that the people are looking for, not just the items I want to tell. Also, when I get a attaboy, meaning that a boy, you did a good job. When I get that kind of a letter or a video or something, I post it on Facebook or I send out a Twitter feed or something to make sure that the announcement hits the world. For example, this morning, I posted a 2-minute video created by my client in Poland that shows about 15 seconds of me in the video delivering a keynote address and an interview for 5,000 people. So that's got a wow factor to it, and it's got a currentness to it, and a credibility. People say, well, yeah, okay, he was good once, but is he good anymore? Well, this happened this morning. Okay, that's current. Yeah, is he any good with a large group or a big complex thing or whatever? Or I haven't read his book or heard his name. So who is this guy? Click on the video. Wow. Okay, I think I'll pay attention. So there's things like that you can do, but you don't have to produce big elaborate videos. You could do something just as clever as turning on your phone and doing a personalized message that targets a need that most people overlook. And that little 30-second video created sitting at your own desk with your phone could make a big difference for you.
Yeah, something as simple as just once a week doing a little video and Facebook messaging it to a client or a candidate that you're working with, or doing a personalized note. Handwritten notes are oftentimes, big impact on emotions, but they don't necessarily. Rare. Yeah, they're very rare, and that may be the thing that helps you to stand out from the competition. We've also got a whole bunch of lists of items here that have to do with client retention, and at this point is usually when people go, well, which ones work the best?
Well, the ones that hit.
Yeah, you got to do a lot of different things before you find the thing that resonates with your audience. So if I was to say, well, do customer surveys and do thank you notes, that may not have as big of an impact as picking up the phone and calling them. So you have to test.
Let me interrupt for a second. That's one of the things that has recurred over the years. People who think in a shallow way about these subjects, they'll say, well, I tried follow-up calls and it didn't work for me. What? It's like I tried eating and I didn't find it pleasing. Well, what were you eating? Bologna? You ever had steak? All these things are things that work occasionally in certain circumstances. So what you've got to do is as many of them as is reasonably possible and as regularly as is practical, so that you've got a constant flow of information hitting the outside of that balloon in which all of your clients exist. And you want every direction they look for them to see a message, get a note, hear about an appearance or an experience or a referral or a something from you, so that you become omnipresent and they say, gosh, David, I hear of you everywhere I go. Good. My reputation management is working, right?
Yeah. And it's, and having that inside of a calendar as a way to stay organized, and allows you to maybe hand that off and delegate it to somebody. I mean, you don't need a professional marketing team developing your marketing. You could maybe have a staff person or a virtual assistant that's taking on some of these activities, and maybe they're sending out your email newsletter, and they're sending out postcards, or they're sending out emails on your behalf, and all you're doing is just simply proofing them.
And by the way, I've got that in place, and it's a software service called Social, SOCIAL, BEE, like a buzzing bee, socialbee.com. And they're out of, I think, Romania, and inexpensive. And they post my Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter feeds on a regular, intentional basis. All I had to do was load in the various messages I wanted, determine the timing and the frequency, and that happens automatically. And then I add to it with my own personal posts from day to day, week to week. Something we were talking about before this broadcast, David, was chicken soup for the soul. I know Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, the founders and owners of Chicken Soup. And I've known them since before they published the first Chicken Soup for the Soul book. They have now sold more Chicken Soup for the Soul books and products than any book besides the Bible that's ever been in print. There have been over 100 million books sold in the Chicken Soup series. 100 million. Wow. And all of this was done by these two guys and their team driving sales. How did they do it? When they first started out, they didn't know anything except what they wanted to accomplish. They didn't know how to get there. And they got Robert Kramer, Kremer, got his book, 1001 Ways to Market Your Book. They gave that to their staff, and they said, do 3 of these every day until you've done all 1001. Well, some of those ways didn't apply to them at all and didn't work. And some of them paid off in spades. So they kept doing the ones that worked, and the others they just tried once or twice or 3 times to see if it would pay off. And if not, they'd move on to something else. But like David was showing you a moment ago, there's a whole laundry list of things to choose from. Just keep using them until you find out which ones pay off for you.
That's great. And I think that having an organized approach is going to be more predictable if you're doing it consistently, because now you have a little checklist, or you have a day in the month or a day in the week that you do your calendared appointments. When I was starting out, I would put things into my calendar and remind myself of the things that I needed to do until I was able to afford an assistant. And then I found technology and I added to that. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with marketing, stop. Being overwhelmed is a choice. You don't have to be overwhelmed. You can just take a small thing that you're going to do. Don't compare yourself to Jim or myself or anybody else on this call. Do more of what is going to serve you. Find one thing that you can do to start moving your business forward in the area of marketing. And it may be as simple as clarifying who your ideal client profile looks like, and maybe writing down a few descriptions about that. So
by the way, that's an important thing, is to have a description that you've done, a specific description of what your perfect customer would be.
Yeah, where do they live? Where do they go to work? What do they do? How much money do they make? What kind of cars do they drive? Just be thinking.
What do they care about? What problems do they experience the most frequently? Where do they buy? Who have they been doing business with before? Those kind of questions.
Yeah, something as simple as maybe a Starbucks card for $5 could be inside of a thank you note, and you could do 5 of those a week, and 20 people a month got wowed by your or 20 people a month may have just been absolutely shocked that somebody has given them a little $5 gift card. And if you follow it up with a phone call, that may lead to a new client or a new contract. And you just have to follow up to see what works for you. And we'll just wrap up by saying some things to measure. Marketing needs to be measured. Otherwise, you're just going to throw money at something and not really know if it's working. So when you get calls from people, find out, where did you hear about us? How did you find out about us? And track how they found out about you so that you can come back and look, is this a good source of incoming leads? I found out, Jim, I was doing an advertisement in a newspaper one time, and it was doing good volume, and I was getting some leads off of it. And then once I got a chance to come back and look at it, the conversion was terrible. I was getting a lot of phone calls, but I wasn't actually moving those people from the phone call to an actual client, as compared to all the other people that were referred to me by a friend or by a person of influence. And so I started to look at the cost to acquire a new client, and I said, what, I'm getting a lot of leads and I'm spending a lot of time, which feels good, but at the end of the day, the most profitable clients that I had that continued to return and come back and refer other people were people that came from referral.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at these other aspects of measurement to really understand what's the best strategy for you.
And let me suggest one metric that everyone should be tracking on a daily basis. And I think you ought to put this in your personal journal, your calendar, and every single day make a note of these two things so that you can track them over time. And I'll guarantee you, this is not just a reassurance, this is a guarantee. This will work to increase your sales. Measure two things. Number one, how many people did I contact today who can buy from me? Now, just contacts with people doesn't matter. Contacts with people who could buy from you, people who could say yes. How many contacts each day? And if you want to, I would separate between follow-up contacts and new contacts, because it's the new contacts that's going to determine the size of growth. Second thing to measure every day is how many of those contacts contained conversation about how you can help them for pay. How many of those contacts contain conversation about how you can help them for pay? If you measure those two things and track it over the next month, I think you will find enough benefit to that you'll want to track it over the rest of your career and get any people working for you doing the exact same thing. Contacts with people who can say yes, conversations about how you can help them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Jim, if our calendars don't match our goals and we're not putting in the high leverage activities or the marketing strategies to see the kind of growth we want, we could talk about living extraordinary lives, but if we're not achieving the goals because the habits and the actions aren't there, we're fooling ourselves. And that's not what this challenge is about. We want to see you all describe what you want and then put in the work to go out there and get it. And next week, we're going to be talking about the secrets to success with relationship selling. Jim's going to be giving us some great tips from his book, Relationship Selling, and walking us through some things to do that are highly impactful in developing relationships and to help you to transact more business in your business. Even if you're not considered in sales, you're going to find that this is going to be a great strategy for building relationships and transferring trust and acquiring value. Jim, any final comments on the relationship selling?
Well, I've got a comment about lifestyle marketing and relationship selling, the whole thing. Bill Bacharach is a colleague of mine who focuses very specifically on the financial services professionals, and he teaches how to become a trusted advisor in that field. And I've seen him go from a brand new startup guy to a multimillionaire running a worldwide operation with the admiration and respect of the leaders of the financial services industry around the world. And Bill Bacharach has one of his measures of success when he's looking at each month or year over time is how much have you progressed from where you started to where you're working less and earning more. Working less and earning more, working less and earning more, till you're ultimately retired because of too much wealth.
Amen to that. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. If you appreciated this particular session, we'd love to hear feedback. Go into the Facebook group and give us some feedback on the live video feed there, or if you have any comments you just want to throw in there. And if you have any strategies that are working for you, let's dialogue about them. Throw them out there. Let us know what's working for you, and we'll collaborate and get better together. So we'll see you all
next week. We want to encourage folks, if you've got a salesperson working with you or a staff person who handles your customer contact, then get them on the call next week, because we want to focus on sales strategies that work for you and make sure they've got that same mentality that you've got as you grow your business.
Great.
Everybody is in sales.
That's the truth. We'll see you all next week. And if you have more questions, jump on to theextraordinarylife.com and you can contact us there.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye, Jim.
See you.